6 months, 30 long weeks, 210 days
Oh
since
my
February the
gosh.
12th, when the Chiefs triumphs over the Eagles in 57. It's finally back. NFL
I don't
Sunday.
think I'm overstating this, but I think I know what Nelson Mandela felt like.
Oh, NFL Sunday is
Yeah.
back, and so is the NFC West show. It's great to see you guys, boys. It's been a long, long off season, but it feels like it's back now. This is real now.
Yep.
For
Good
sure.
to see you guys.
For sure.
Yeah. Sam's not with us. He's off on holiday. I mean, what sort of time is that? How could you go on holiday week one? But yeah, he'll be back next week, hopefully, to join us.
Not I.
Slot.
Doesn't he
It's
Not
either that
I.
or it's either that or he saw Cooper Cup hitting IR and just thought, no, I'm not even bothering for the next 4 weeks. So, I mean, what an off season, right? I mean, the 49ers with their QB drama. Let's have an off season and have QB drama in the 49ers, right? Because why wouldn't we? Seahawks have been under the radar, Bo. Not heard an awful lot. You know, a great draft again for you guys. You're looking stronger. You've got some really good rookie talent. And Jason, where do we start with the Cardinals? I don't even know. Car crash, dumpster fire, inside a car crash, I mean, how are you feeling about your team? What team? Is it the practice squad you're putting out this week against the Commanders? Or?
Well, it certainly looks like that. You know what? I think a lot of that is just media created, right? A lot of this is there's not one move that's been made that I think your hardcore or realistic Cardinal fan has disagreed with the move. I think every move has been, Colt McCoy just didn't have it, and I think it was funny how the narrative changed from that little engine that could, I think I can, to we cut Colt McCoy, so therefore we're tanking. Really?
Yeah, it was quite quick, wasn't it?
Because Colt McCoy, he was winning us playoff game. Really? Come on.
No,
Colt McCoy.
He would have probably got you a couple more wins only because there's peanut vendors with more snaps than the quarterbacks you're running out. But
yeah. Well, I don't even know that. There's some talks that his arm was done. He wasn't looking great in practice. Isaiah Simmons, only people outside of Arizona think that was a bad deal. The optics looked bad because of what we got in return. I think much like the San Fran and the Trey Lance, it's like, just get something back in return and move on.
Yeah.
Cut your losses. We obviously lost out in that deal, right? But, he came in, we thought we could use him at inside. That didn't work. And then we moved him to outside. That didn't work. And then this year, Jonathan Gannon sat him down and said, hey, where do you want to play? And he said, I want to play safety. So they tried him out in safety, and that was horrible. And not only was that horrible, but that moved around some of the other guys. Noticeably Thompson. Thompson had to move down to slot safety. And now we're moving guys who play great in a free safety position back into other positions where they're not looking good. Isaiah didn't look good. It just wasn't a good fit. Hey, I wish them the best. I think all Cardinal fans wish them the best in New York, but it just wasn't happening here.
Yeah. So it was definitely a scheme issue, because I think he actually could have balled out for you guys if they'd have used him the way that Seattle tries to use Jamal Adams. Like, if they would have had him be that safety rover outside linebacker type position where he's free to roam around but isn't required to do a ton in coverage, because he's not a great coverage guy.
He's a horrible coverage guy.
But if he was able to kind of freely move around, spy the quarterback, get some pass rush and some run stop, like, I think that's where his skill set would have been awesome. But that's not how you guys used him.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I also think that his the way he worked out and this kind of attitude and his drive just wasn't quite there with the new regime. How can I say it? He just didn't have a great work ethic.
I think it sounded like he had the I am as I.
Absolutely. And you know what? He is uber talented. Yeah. But Jonathan Gannon just doesn't put up with that stuff. And
no. He's certainly taken a team on as his own, it seems. I think, a root and branch analysis has gone on at the Cardinals, and yes, you're shipping guys out who are not scheme fit or not personnel fit or not even, just team ethos fit. And he's come in and he's gone, this is what I want. You guys either toe the line or get out. And
Absolutely.
it could be a very rough season or two, maybe, but
it is going to be a bad season. But that's exactly what it looks like to me. He's like, look, I'm going to get fired one day. Okay. And when I do, I want to be able to go out and know that I did it my way, period.
Yeah.
So, again,
and I think
love what he's doing.
It's going to be his team, isn't it?
I love the base that he's creating. I love the people he's keeping. I love the culture he's creating. I think the media is doing a great job of just beating us up.
Wow.
But hey, listen, when the games start,
any given Sunday
in a couple hours,
less than 2 hours, man, less than 2 hours.
Much like that, 2018 Niners season when you guys had 3 wins, but you saw progress. That's all I want to see. I just want to see progress. So,
yeah, I think I said, as you say, most Cardinals fans will temper their expectations this year and say, as long as we can see something from this team which shows the identity or some sort of, this is the roadmap, this is where we're going, this is what it's going to look like next year when, as we've just mentioned just prior to coming on, you could have the first and second draft pick next year. I mean, the future could look really good in Arizona if this base gets fixed.
Absolutely. And that's what's going to be hard is for Cardinal fans to be patient because we're going to lose. Be patient. Weather the losses, the many losses, but recognize the we're getting better and see how we're getting better. Keep your eye on the prize, and that's going to be
It's gonna be a tough one, isn't it?
A delicate, fine line for Cardinal fans to walk. And I don't know if Jonathan Gannon's going to get that support. I hope he does.
I think he will if he can nail this next draft, right? Because you got some nice draft picks. I imagine they're going to move some other things to increase their draft capital. So if they can nail half of the draft, I think you'll have a lot of patience from that fan base, especially if then you can go into next season, win a couple more games. Because, I mean, this year is going to be bad, obviously. Next year is probably still going to be bad, but, probably a little better. So if you can get this draft and next draft, kind of like the Texans are doing, right?
Yeah.
They were god-awful. And then they really made some nice moves in this draft. And they're probably going to surprise a couple teams, but not be amazing. And then next year, if they can have another decent draft, then all of a sudden you can be competitive, right? Like if you can get a draft or two in a row and then pick up some kind of mid-level free agents to fill some gaps, like you can turn a team around pretty quick. Yeah,
I think that Texans blueprint, if you like, is probably where it looks like where the Cardinals might be, because as you say, they are a dire team, and they've done some good moves on the draft. They're looking, a step better this year. And as JT said, as long as, if they have a bad year in Arizona, but as they show progress, they're in a few games, it's not blowout after blowout. I think, that's going to be important as long as you show fight and willing and you kind of stick in games which everyone knows you probably shouldn't be, but as long as you don't, fold in the first half and give it all up, then that progress is there, and then the blueprint is there for a good draft next year, year after, a few free agents. You're on mute there, JT. I know you've swapped headsets there, so you need to kind of find your mute button.
Oh yeah, no, you're muted, bud.
You've muted yourself with your headset off. So that's what we're thinking. F5, maybe F4. Yeah, no. It's going to be in there somewhere. Yeah, there he is.
There we go.
So yeah, it'll be interesting, and but I have a lot of faith, as I always do. What's the other option? I don't have another option.
None of us do, right?
We'll figure this out. I know we will.
Yeah, and both, as we mentioned. Sorry, man.
Oh, I was going to say the only way your fan base will lose patience is if you guys are getting smoked in a lot of games this year, and the team looks like it's quitting. That's where
Right.
fans lose their mind, right? Is when it looks like you've given up.
It looks like business decisions are being made, should we say?
Yeah.
I know we saw a few of those in the Rams games.
Absolutely. If JG loses that locker room, then yeah, it's helter skelter, right? But if he can keep that locker room together, if Kyler Murray can come back and ball out, and show us that he can be our quarterback of the future. Cardinal fan might not think they want that. They do want that.
Yeah.
They want Kyler Murray to come back and be good enough, so that way we don't think about using a draft pick on Caleb Williams next year.
Yeah.
You can't
that's
be looking
what
at
we
that with
want.
that contract and everything, do you? I mean, Kyler was your guy. You gave him the bag. You gave him the big money. He's
We
got to
gave
run
him the
with it.
big money, and what people don't realize, and it's great to play with monopoly money and a fake salary cap, but that's not what we play in. We live in the real world. It's a real salary cap, and if we cut him being Kyler Murray, that's $81 million in dead cap money. You think we're the laughing stock of the NFL now?
Oh yeah.
You wait.
What do you think will happen when we cut Kyler Murray?
So Jason, answer me this one, because I've talked to a bunch of Cardinals fans that are all about the Caleb Williams action, and they're just saying, whatever, he can ride the bench, or Kyler can ride the bench. Why would your fan base be hoping Kyler sucks? Like, I don't understand.
You know what? Because they're first of all, they're believing the hype. Well, Caleb Williams looks like he's every bit of what the highlight tape says he's going to be, number one.
Without a doubt.
So I don't know how that's going to translate to the NFL, nor do I care. Okay. But what I don't understand is, and that's the media here locally. Everybody here locally, the media here locally loves to bash, and I don't understand why. He's not like other bust quarterbacks, and that's what he's been labeled, right? A bust. The guy only won the Heisman Trophy. Then he wins the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Then he wins the Pro Bowl, and then he makes the Pro But as a starter. That doesn't sound like a bust to me.
I got one I could call that.
Potential of no, but bust. Come on.
No. I'm saying I've got some. If you want to talk bust QBs and high draft picks, we can loop back to that.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's a bust.
Yeah, we had John Kitna.
That's a bust. But to have all those accolades, only 4 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL have won the Heisman and won Offensive Rookie of the Year. 4 ever. And then he goes on to win a Pro Bowl or make a Pro Bowl, and then the next year the Pro Bowl as a starter. And that year, through week 7, he was the front runner for MVP of the year. Like, listen, we don't need him to be Superman. We just need him to be good enough. And if we can parlay those picks and use them elsewhere, oh my gosh, we can get
that's the thing,
a
isn't
king's
it?
ransom.
Yeah, if you can get those picks to give Kyler an offensive line or the ability, as you said, you don't need him to be Superman as long as you use those picks that up to week 7, as you were saying, he was having to be Superman because he was having to be all over the field and whatever else. If you can use that first and second on, maybe you do get Harrison, because let's be honest, why would you not, right? And what team would not take that generational talent at wide receiver? But you then use the second pick for, or parlay the first for a number of good lineman pick and whatever else. I mean, you get a bucket load from that. It's all there as long as.
Then you give up a third and go get Mike Evans from Tampa, so you have some veteran presence on the other side.
Yeah, it's all
sounds like a plan to me. That sounds like a great deal.
But who knows where Gannon's going with this one?
True.
But as you say, he certainly. I think we certainly agree that his stamp on the Cardinals has been quite effective, and I look forward to. I mean, it's a tough schedule for the NFC West this year, anyway. So I think as Bo was saying, as long as you guys compete for some of these, there are some games that you're going to get blown out. There's
without a doubt.
It's going to happen because of who we're all playing.
Yeah,
it's just not quitting on those games, even if it's a blowout. Even as they're ringing in their second and third string, you guys still need to be battling and fighting. That will keep your fans on board, and then you're all along for the ride. We've all been there. We've all been in seasons of did you say 3 wins, 2 wins, 1 wins?
Just make sure you pray for me this year.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, we'll gloat and we'll laugh and we'll rub it in and we'll bring lots of salt to these shows. But Bo and I have been around long enough to remember some of the bad years where all of our teams have been. Tom Sullivan years and things like that. Chip Kelly. I mean, we've all had years where it's like, oh, watching through our fingers. So we'll be here for you in support.
You're not even watching. You're like this.
It's just like just waiting for the low light reels to come out, right?
That's
So
right.
Bo,
That's the only
low
thing
light.
you're on ESPN for is you're the backside of a play that didn't work out.
Work out. It's like, oh, look at that great offensive play. Oh god, it's against my team again. Why is it always against the guys in horrible gold and horrible red that they used to wear in the late? Anyway, that horrible sort of 90s gear that we used to wear. It was very bad unis. Bo, Seahawks this year, off season of quietness, no drama, sort of, Pete Carroll just kind of
off season.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice, right? I mean, from a 49er perspective, it'd be real nice. But you guys have just kind of flown under the radar, strengthened in some really good places with some really. I mean, your secondary looks really strong now with those rookie draft picks. I mean, you're looking. I know, we're talking rankings and we'll get into all that. You guys are looking much stronger across a number of positions. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so I mean, like last year, right? It was a top 5 scoring offense most of the year until guys started getting hurt. So, and the offense got better, right? You added some depth with Charbonnet and you add JSN as a receiver. We find some undrafted gold in Bobo. So, I mean,
well, he's not quick though, is he?
No, but he catches the ball.
And let's be honest, KC could do with any of those, right?
Right? Yeah. I mean, Tony was out there looking like he was shooing a bee away. Like he didn't want to catch anything out there. But yeah, no. So the big question for Seattle is, are the rookies on the interior of that offensive line going to be able to make a difference and open some holes for our running game? Because that was a problem last year. And with all the new additions in the front 7 on the defense, right? Because the secondary is good. The secondary was good last year with no front 7 to speak of.
Yeah.
So you add some extra depth to that, secondary. But the big question is, can they stop the run? Because they were giving up almost 200 yards a game last year.
You guys got gashed last year, didn't you?
Constantly. And we couldn't stop a tight end to save our life because we had our outside linebackers crashing to help on the line, which means every seam route ever was open. And so I don't know why teams didn't run more of them against us. They should have. It was open all day. Even after you'd gash us for one, we'd still vacate the zone. Like, I don't know why you didn't just throw a tight end seam all game. Like, you could have got 10 to 15 yards every play. Wouldn't have mattered.
Even Zach Ertz could have got 15 yards of play, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. So that is the position group that's going to make the biggest difference this year. If they stay, I obviously they're going to make a jump, right? Because they were the last ranked in run defense, and they were the 30th ranked defense overall. So if you go from there to say the 15th ranked defense overall, right? Like, I don't think they're going to be elite, but if they can be just middle of the pack, and that offense can stay scoring about where they were, then yeah, that is going to be a really tough out for anybody that plays Seattle. I still think the Niners are the better team overall, as long as you can keep a quarterback healthy. So I think you guys win the division. Seattle goes in as a wild card, but I think it's a difference of a game, honestly.
I think I got us 2 games. I think you guys are. I think I've got 12-5. We're going 14-3. It could be one a game either way, and I think you're right. You've tightened up, and you have got that interior of your defense is where the gaping holes were last year. Have you done enough to strengthen that? Because teams will try it and see. Because as you say, you gave up so many yards on the ground last year. Odd that everybody knew, and I suppose Gino, as Alex says here, is Gino ready for a pressure of he's had one good year, shall we say, of eventually it's finally come good for him. Is he ready now? He's been signed, and now he is your QB of the next however many years he's got. So
sort of. His contract actually has outs every year. So if he comes out and is terrible, like, they can move on from him this season. So it was an incredibly team-friendly contract. That being said, the things that he did last year why I kind of like. I was never a big Geno guy, right? If you remember last year, I was like, man, here we go, right? But the thing that I like about Geno was everything he did is duplicatable. So there's nothing he did that required crazy athleticism or, just things to fall the right direction. He won games because he was smart with the football, willing to throw it away, willing to check it down, but will stretch the field when he has to. So he was playing smart football, and that is something you can take year to year. So I'm encouraged by Geno because he won in a way that you can do year in and year out. The thing that I was surprised nobody really talked about last year at all was, and even coming into this year, is Geno set the single season passing record for the Seahawks, right? Wilson was there for a decade and didn't do that. And, Geno comes in, throws for 4,400 yards. So, I mean, he quietly...
the most passing yards than any NFC West quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he quietly came in and just balled out, right? Like, everybody talked about his completion percentage, but, like, they threw the ball a lot.
High kind of falling off towards the end of the year.
Well, that's because we didn't have a running game anymore, right? Like you couldn't hide the play action because
you didn't have any run. Yeah,
was out. Dallas was out, right? So we were basically running out there with, a T-shirt vendor from the lobby as a running back, and then we had a hurt interior offensive line. So it was just like, okay, we're not
throwing it right
for you, and you are the least skilled guy possible. Try and make it work.
Yes, it did, and it is interesting. I didn't realize, as you say, passing yards and distance, and it does highlight, Russell Wilson was there for 10 years, very successful at the Seahawks, but Geno comes in and gets a single season passing record. So yeah, you put it in the air a lot, and his completion rate was good, and he obviously pushed it down the field a little more. So yeah, and it wasn't, as you say there, but it wasn't Kyler Murray running around making a 4th and 15 work after, a 35-second scramble that made Geno win these things. We've those highlight reels where you're just like, wow, just 3 people can do that, and Kyler's one of them. Geno didn't do any of those sorts of plays. There was nothing. Yeah, there were a couple of good plays, but there was no flashy highlight play of the week kind of things. It's if Geno could do it, and no disrespect to Geno, but another new rookie who's picked up or new guy who comes along could possibly do it. And I know it's something that they say at the 49ers, it's a system, you need a system QB or whatever else, but, he flourished in Pete Carroll's system.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that he's not athletic, right? Like there were plays that he was able to extend and, run for first down, whatever, but he's not that Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray. Like he's not that difference maker on the athleticism side. But he throws a nice ball that's very accurate and he's smart. And I mean, unless you have the top 4 guys talent-wise, that's what you need, is somebody that's smart with the football, accurate, and just doesn't put it in harm's way.
Yeah. And I think...
Is there a concern factor, or are you worried at all? Or have you heard any discourse with the running back situation? I know Kenneth Walker is an absolute beast, but I wrote down a stat. He had 24 carries inside the 10-yard line, and 17 of those carries went for 0 or negative yards. So he's not very good in confined spaces. He's better in the open field.
Yeah.
Is that a concern? I mean,
so no. So the thing that is troubling about that stat is that really doesn't have a ton to do with your running back. That has everything to do with your line can't open a hole when they're stacking the box. And that was a real problem with the Seattle offensive line last year. The rookie tackles that they got played out of their minds. Like they came in, balled out, were awesome.
But as far as interior
was terrible. And they couldn't open a hole.
Couldn't move a fridge. They couldn't move anything out of the way.
No, they definitely couldn't. I mean, a lot of Walker's runs, he was breaking his first tackle at or behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
he was bouncing it outside, wasn't he? Yeah.
Exactly. So the fact that he was a top 10 running back in yards and didn't play 6 of the games, right? Like he was injured for part of it and didn't start the season. Penny did. So, I mean, his ability to run is there, but I mean, you got to give him a gap. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to be able to drive a tank through it, but you do have to be able to get a human through it.
Yeah, there's got to be a little seam somewhere
Right?
that he can get through, right? It's got to see a gap. You know, as you say, that interior just was not getting anything. It was just a wall and nowhere for him to go. So I'm not surprised at that short yardage thing. Do you think Charbonnet coming in helps that, or is that going to be a
Well, it
running
helps
back by committee thing?
it helps immediately because Walker is still fighting off a groin injury. So he is cleared to play this week. I would imagine he's going to be on a pitch count.
Snap count, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say he probably gets, I don't know, 10, 12 carries. And then the rest of it is going to be kind of split between Charbonnet and DJ Dallas. Because, they also want to get Charbonnet some reps out there. This is going to be a team that gives Seattle problems, right? The Rams, whether they're good or bad, the Hawks struggle against them, right?
Yeah.
That is the one team, especially in our division, that you can almost guarantee you're going to split with the Rams every time for the Hawks. I don't know what it is. Hasn't mattered what coach.
Not so sure this year, though.
What personnel. I would hope not this year. But I think these games are going to be closer than they should be. And that interior of the offensive line is still going to have to deal with Donald.
Yep.
So we're going to find out right away if these rookies are doing as well as they reportedly have been. And, the problem with spring is, all you see is, preseason, I should say, is all you see is highlights, right? Coming out of camp, all you see is what the media is allowed to put out there. So it's like, okay, well, that's great. We saw you win a couple of battles in, camp and stuff. It's like, okay, but you guys were out there for 4 hours.
Yeah, how come we've only seen 3 snaps? And
Exactly. So, I mean, were you that good all day, or was that the 3 reps that were good? And, we're, 4 hours from finding out.
Yeah, and as you say, it's a good one for you guys to measure yourselves against, at the Rams at first up. Donald, can be a game destroyer just on his own in that team. And let's be honest, he's going to have to do a lot for that team this year because they look thin, should we say. I mean, I think the Rams are one bad injury or one bad QB hit away from being down there with the Cardinals this year.
So
I mean,
the Rams are actually...
I don't really like how you said that, but I get
Sorry, Matt. Sorry. But yeah. I know you don't appreciate how it was said, but you appreciate the sentiment, right?
The Rams are
We're
actually
doing something, Gary. We're doing something.
You're building. The Rams are in free fall, I think. The Rams are in their hangover from selling the house.
About, right? That's not. It's all talk. It's talked about how we're tanking. Well, no one talks about
the Rams.
If the Rams get off to a bad start, and all indications are they will.
Yeah.
I mean,
they could be. They could be in there
to play
for Caleb.
Like they want Caleb.
Well, I don't see Stafford hanging around.
They definitely could be, because as it sits right now, Stafford coming off his injury, right? And they come into this game. We're going to have a hungry front seven because they want to prove they're better than last year. Plus, Jaron Reed, he can get home. So if you get the wrong kind of hit on Stafford,
they're into Stetson Bennett or something as their backup.
Right.
Bennett. He has a shoulder injury. They're going to be pulling somebody. I forget who their third stringer is, but
it's not even Ripen. It's not. No. God,
Tim Tebow.
I forget who their third stringer is, but it would be like if you guys, if the Cardinals ran out there with Tony, right? Like you don't know what you have. So and Stafford, he can overcome some things, right? He's a veteran. He knows how to manipulate some stuff. But if you got a guy out there with no NFL snaps as your guy, yeah, I would bet that the Rams are right on that same path with getting the first overall pick. And then you'd have a guy like Kupp that will probably, if that's your quarterback, he's going to be like, I'm going to slow play my injury coming back. I'm going to make sure.
I got 4 weeks, maybe 5. When's the trade deadline? Maybe 8. Somebody might be out there looking for a veteran receiver and trade deadline day who,
Well, I don't know that they're really going to give up anything, because if you start off like that, you may just embrace the suck and, go after a new quarterback. Because, I mean, the good thing with Stetson Bennett is if Stafford gets hurt and Bennett's available, obviously, they play very similarly, right? They have a similar style play. They move similarly. So your offensive line doesn't have to adjust to a new way of blocking up, right? Like I never like when a team has a super athletic guy and then a statue, or a statue and a super athletic guy, right? Because then in the middle of a game, whenever somebody gets hurt, your offensive line has to now change the entire way they block.
It's like changing from a right-hander to left-hander almost, isn't it? It's like, hey, we're blocking this way to make sure he's got the passing lane. Oh, it's a lefty in now. Oh, everything has to kind of go in reverse. So, yeah, I get that. I mean, so, yeah, the 1 and 2 position there is good for them in the way that Bennett is actually older than Stafford near enough, isn't he?
Yeah, he's signing up for AARP already. But yeah, no, I mean, so it's one of those where, because he's already hurt, Stafford could potentially get hurt. I mean, and you're moving on from Stafford, right? Like Stafford even talked about potential retirement this last season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have him for another year? Is Stetson your guy? I mean, he did win 2 national titles, but who knows, right? So if you can go after a Caleb or something, then, I mean, you may go after that.
But yeah, as you say, I think, it's Stafford hinted already. I don't think Bennett is a long-term pick. I think that's a insurance kind of just in case pick, as you say. He plug and plays into the Stafford-esque role, but
professional backup. Yeah,
he's not your go-to guy for the future. And it does take Cup being out is a big loss for them. I think for the first 4 games, if Stafford goes down, Eckler. I mean, what else have they got?
So basically, they are going to be looking for a huge year out of Akers, right? They're going to need Cam Akers, and then they're going to hope that Van Jefferson's that guy.
Yep.
I don't think he is, but they have to hope that he can turn into a number 1, because he is their number 1 moving forward.
Yeah, him and what's the other Scrobank or whatever? He's going to have to play out of the skin slot. Yeah, so they're thin there. I think they've got a lot of rookies on their O-line as well, because they're having to, the fact that they sold the house a few years ago, the cap hit and everything else is coming back to bite them. So they're having to cut corners, if you like, or cut wages, which means playing younger guys.
Yeah, so, Gary, that hurts most teams if they miss.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's only dumb if it doesn't work, right?
Yep.
But if you get a ring, hey, I guess it is what it is. Yeah, no, they're in a bad spot, and with the youth on that line, unless they are all playing out of their minds, Stafford doesn't make it through the season.
No. Yeah, and that's
I agree.
Yeah, I think the Rams are on that thin ice skate of they could go 500, break even-ish. But if Stafford goes down and Cup is out now, Cup's out for 4 games, they're already on that slippery slope, and it's not an easy opening. It could be an interesting one for the West.
Didn't someone suggest he might go on the IR? Who was that?
Who was that?
All right, before we talk about the Niners, Bo, Gary used to be this very humble, soft-spoken kind of guy. Now all of a sudden he's in angelic white. He's got the bling. He's got a posse behind him. I think there's an entourage with him.
Oh yeah, bringing a whole crew with the boombox. Yeah.
He's got an MC name, DJ Gary Gare.
West Side, man. It's West Side.
I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing what putting a bag of money into the Defensive Player of the Year does for
changes you, man. I mean,
it changes you when you're in that window, right? I mean,
yeah.
And let's be honest, I think this is all joking aside, I know we've talked about the roster at the Niners, and I know it's the strongest team in this division, and potentially, very close to being the strongest in the whole of the NFC. Mm-hmm. But it is a pressurized situation now with Bosa getting the money, with all of the players that we have. We are in a win now window of opportunity. We have to. We have to now with the Trey thing, and we're going to have to go into that. Much like you said with Simmons, we had to move Trey. We had to. It was.
He really did.
It was too much drama. It had been from the first year when he was drafted, and then he done his thumb, and nobody really understood how bad that thumb was, and he was going to sit anyway. So like we had Jimmy, and it was all fine, and we got to the Super Bowl, and one bad throw over. No. The second year, the thumb injury, I think, was probably worse than most people realized, which is why he couldn't play. Then he comes out, plays a game and a half, gets injured, and is out again. It's like, I mean, the poor guy. I mean, in all honesty, I hope he goes out, balls out, takes Dak's job, and does really well in Dallas. Right?
Yeah, I did too. I wish
Right,
him the
because-
best, man.
Because he's had absolutely no luck with us, and through no fault of his own, by the sound of it, he, injuries and whatever else. Maybe he didn't kind of take the steps forward that the teams were expecting, and that's just rumor and conjecture and media and what you hear, that he wasn't taking that step forward. He was a third-year
Take a
QB.
step forward if you're not playing, though.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a third-year QB. He was.
You know
still,
what though? To that point, and there's been a lot said to that he only got 4 or 5 games total in 3 years. Coaches
He
also
played
got
final
to be in
season.
practice, okay, day in and day out. And it's one thing if in practice he shows this immense talent, like maybe a Kurt Warner, but like in games he shits the bed. It's like, okay, I'm going to give that guy a bigger leash, a longer leash. Than
just the games are too quick and stuff. It'll come to him.
If he doesn't show me anything in practice, and then in games he doesn't really show me much, it's like, well,
that's it. I mean, maybe that ceiling wasn't there.
I mean, so obviously when I saw that, I'm like, Trey Lance is not showing the coaches much in practice or in games.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, so to that point, Geno Smith had more snaps last year than Trey had since middle school.
Yeah. I mean, that's a damning situation on the poor guy, right? He didn't play his final year of college. He also played at NDSU, which isn't, a great school. It isn't tier 1. So playing against teams which aren't as good. But, it was a swing. The Niners took a big swing on the potential, the arm and the ceiling and all that. And didn't work. Injuries, scheme, maybe, it was too much of a step. Maybe the potential might be there to be unlocked in a Geno Smith time frame. And maybe that might be it. It might take him bouncing around being a backup and whatever else, and suddenly he gets his chance in however many years' time, and he finds a role and he lands on his feet, and suddenly the game is, slowed down enough for him, and he's played enough snaps and he's seen enough things. But as you say, he's not. If Geno played more snaps in one season than he has in 5 years or 4 years, no wonder he wasn't lighting it up like everyone was expecting. But,
I do give you guys a lot of credit in the way that, you guys took a big swing, but you didn't double down on a bad decision, right?
Right.
At front
Well,
office,
they tried. I think they kept him probably a year longer than they should have.
Well,
I think
kind of had
They
to.
finally cut him and let him go.
Well, he was still kind of free, right? Like he was a first round pick, so he's still expensive. But at the same time,
he wasn't Jimmy G expensive, was he? So
yeah, right. Like he's still a rookie contract, so you keep him around, and then at some point you got to move on, especially since they realistically and Purdy found their guy. But I like the fact that they didn't like. That's honestly how a lot of GMs get fired, right? Is they're like, I made a bad decision. We're holding on to this because I need it to become a good decision. And that's not generally how it works out. Like John Lynch was great in that way. He was just like, man, we wish him the best. Hope it works out. The other end of that though is hilarious because so many people are like, oh, this is going to put so much pressure on Dak. No, it's not. He couldn't beat out Sam Darnold.
would break it down.
Dak is in no pressure from Trey Lance. Cooper Rush maybe, but not from Trey Lance.
See, I hate the whole narrative how it makes the San Fran front office look bad. I think the exact opposite. Maybe I'm.
No, I think it looks good.
I think
they did a great job.
I'm alone here, but dude, they took the biggest swing and miss ever. Any other franchise that would set them back 3, 4, 5 years. San Francisco does not skip a beat. I think they held on to him for a year longer than they should have for him, for his confidence, not for the 49ers, but for Trey Lance and his confidence. But they missed, they cut him or they trade him. And they've been to what, 3 of the last 4 NFC conference games.
Yep.
They're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, who does that? I mean, to me, that just speaks to the coaching staff over there and what they're doing. And
yeah, the consistency is
I hate
what's
it.
got me. Yeah, and I'm sure you kind of you sit there with slight green-eyed sort of tinge to the viewpoint. But
Well, then you got 49er fans saying how much they hate Kyle Shanahan because of fill in the blank. It's like, dude, he's the best thing that ever happened to your franchise. You know,
and as I say, I think some of those fans maybe newer to the game definitely won't have been through some of the scarring of what was before, and a lot of it, okay, you swing and a miss on a young QB or a young guy, and a lot of the narrative on social media has been horrendously toxic about fire Kyle if he doesn't do this, that, and the other. And you go, hang on, how many other teams out there would kill for our last 5-year record, ignoring the Giants? And as you say, we've been to the big show, we got close.
About 30 other teams.
Defensive blunder for a couple of minutes. We could have won the Super Bowl, NFC Championship games. Come on, it's like
they would have to be really new fans, because we've watched this movie before when you got Harbaugh out of town and you guys were horrendously bad.
Yep.
Right? You guys were in championship games and to a Super Bowl and didn't quite get the deal, but whatever. And then you're like, you know what? We're going to move on from him. He's
free
a
fall.
great coach. And then you guys, it was like a 6-win or 7-win team after that.
6-4, yeah. And again, what came out at the end of it was Nick Bosa. So maybe the long term.
You're going to do that again. You're going to throw away your coach and move a bunch of pieces and then be terrible again to then maybe hope to get back. I mean, like it's just
insane, isn't it?
That's another one of those do you like football?
Yeah. Do you watch football, or are you just here to get engagement on your?
Just to complain,
right?
Just to complain.
I mean, it's a position that we're blessed to be in. I think, and as you say, JT, you were slightly tongue in cheek, but we are in this position now where we can puff our chests out, brag a little bit. Look at our roster. We've got the highest paid running back, the highest paid defensive end. We've got, we are stacked, and we've got a QB that we totally lucked out on. Hands up, we lucked out. The last guy in the draft, yes, he played 4 years at Iowa State, so he's played a lot more football than Trey, obviously, which showed.
Good for
when
him.
he stepped in. When he stepped in, he was like, I've seen this, I know this, I've played it for the last 3 or 4 years. This is not new to me, and balled out. And wow, just wow, right? Nobody saw it. It was just like wow. So we've totally lucked into that, which has allowed us to stack our roster. And just hope he comes in, and as we've said, as I said about Geno, plays the system, does stuff that keeps the ball. He doesn't have to do anything. You look around him; he's got Debo, Ayuk, CMC, Kittle. The list goes on of weapons that he just needs to go. You go do your thing. I just need to make sure that the ball goes from here to there as quickly as possible without anybody getting in the way. It sounds simple, but he made it simple, and he did that very well for the 8 games run that he was in. It looks great for a Niners perspective. And we then strengthened. We went out and took Hargrave from the Eagles, which I thought, A, it strengthened our D-line, but B, weakened our, rival already. And yes, I know they went out in the draft and picked up, a great first round. Right? So maybe
national team defense is over there now.
Yeah, apart from that. So maybe they didn't weaken too much. But, we've been really good in free agency. As you say, JT, the front office has put the money where it needs to be. We've got a couple of years grace because Purdy's on his rookie contract. You look at our QB room. Okay, Darnold, he's not going to set the world alight, but he was an early round pick.
He's a good backup.
Good backup. We got Brandon.
I think he's a great backup.
Yeah, like he can absolutely go win you a game. And to be fair, it's not like he was put in great situations.
Nope.
Right. And obviously,
the Jets situation was hideous for him, wasn't it? I mean,
it was, especially because NFL films did him dirty, having him mic'd up and then playing it.
Yeah,
hey, he was seeing ghosts over there, so
yeah. Right.
But then he's not been the only New York Jets, QB who's seeing ghosts for the last few years.
Yeah,
right. Geno, prime example.
Geno, yeah,
Geno's a great example.
But yeah, I mean, and then he goes from there and he goes to the Panthers. Obviously, also not an amazing team, right? So coming to San Fran is the first time he's going to play on a team that has actual talent all around him. And so if Purdy does go down, I think Darnold can get you wins. Again, he's not amazing. He plays a similar style ball to Purdy, right? So
there might be a Jets fan just in there. Hey,
yeah,
Tim,
a little bit. It's fine. They're about to have awesome Monday.
They're about to have a
Gonna
season, right?
They are.
Oh, they're going to be
so much
prime
fun to
time. The
watch.
Jets are going to be. I'm looking forward to seeing the Jets.
Yeah.
And the good thing
Hey,
is to get to
have
see a
you
lot
ever
of the
been
Jets,
able
right?
to say that? You're looking
Zero
forward to
times
watching
in my
Jets game?
Zero. I mean, I wasn't around for Namath. I'm not that old.
I'm
but,
45, and I don't think I've ever said that.
No.
Now, my first real memories of the Jets are like the '90s Jets, where they were like, 1-15, and like,
They were battling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for worst team in the world. That
Exactly.
one, that sort of season. Yeah.
Hey, to what you were saying, Bo, I'll double down and even say that I think Sam Darnold can win them a Super Bowl,
he could,
and I'll tell you why, because
provided everyone stays healthy. Yeah.
your head coach is absolutely phenomenal. I wrote down some notes to prepare for the show.
Look at a
Christian
professional
McCaffrey.
JT. Whoa.
When he came over, defenses played you guys in man coverage 38% of the time, right? Pretty average. Well, once you got Christian McCaffrey, that moved to 46% of the time. Because now you're putting guys in skill positions. You got Christian McCaffrey, Devo, Ayuk, Kashka, who can do things. So now I'm not going to sit back at his zone and let you beat me to death with this zone scheme, right? I'm going to sit back in man, and everybody's got a man. Well, now I'm killing you. And so he's thinking, well, fine, sit back in man, because now I've got a quarterback that can pick you apart. Okay. Yep. And not because he's that great, just because I put people in space and I create that space on the field. There's another stat. What running back last year ran the most routes, or wide receiver routes? Not slot routes.
CMC.
Not Eckler, not CMC.
Mitchell? No, he was down too much, wasn't he? But Juice.
Kyle Juszczyk.
Juice, my man.
Kyle Juszczyk ran the most routes. You know how many balls he caught last year? Or, I'm sorry, how many times he was targeted? Twice. Because that's what Kyle does. Kyle spreads you out.
Yep.
Okay. And that really hurt. Now, if I have you spread out, try catching CMC in space.
Yeah.
It's just, but Kyle, he's a genius. He knows how
catching
to
Devo on a bubble
he
screen.
He knows how to use
whatever.
the weapons he has.
Yeah.
He tried to get his Patrick Mahomes and Trey Lance, and you know what? And missed. So he's like, you know what? I'll deal with Brock Purdy. And I'm telling you, he'll be just fine with Sam Darnold too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
so
Gino, they're saying his weaknesses
the
at QB.
Ryan. The Rex
also
Ryan
said
years were good.
They weren't bad, the Rex Ryan years, but he's going back a way. Yeah, but Shanahan's weakness at QB, I know that people have been that around because of RG3 at Washington. Another kind of athletic guy that he wanted to kind of, scheme in. Horrendous injury ruined that.
I mean, the Seahawks really.
He wasn't bad, but he wasn't bad at Atlanta with his QB there, right?
Wait a minute. Well, he's bad at the QB position. Brock Purdy comes in and wins every single game he started and finished.
No. He means that Shanahan can't go be the quarterback.
Yeah, I think that might be the only weakness, right? Or he can't pick them from the draft. I mean, that's another thing that people are throwing out. Our early round drafts are not a great.
How many number one quarterbacks didn't work out? Like most of them. Everyone that's ever been drafted to the Browns. Like
anyone a Brown. Yeah, any Brown. You see Sam Darnold, he hasn't quite worked out yet. Maybe he will at some point. It takes a while. And most early round QBs go to positions and go to teams which suck.
Right? Bad, absolutely.
So how do they get there? And you feel for some of the Strouds and you feel for Young and Richardson this year. They're like, you've got to really ball out.
Just fine with QBs. Has done fine. Would any other coach done this with Purdy? Number one, number two. Go back to Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians, they called him the quarterback whisperer, right? Because he did amazing things with Peyton Manning. Pretty sure Peyton Manning was going to do what he did anyway. Oh, and then he did awesome things with Carson Palmer. Pretty sure Carson Palmer was going to do those things regardless. So the quarterback he drafted, this was a quarterback that he sought out, did his homework, worked out, and drafted and said he's going to be the next great thing, Logan Thomas.
Wow.
And Bruce Arians is a quarterback whisperer. Listen, sometimes you miss.
For sure. No, I honestly, if there's a position group that Shanahan does seem to struggle with, and it's actually why he has such a hard time with running backs and quarterbacks, is offensive line. Like, he has a really hard time getting that position group right, which is why quarterbacks and running backs are constantly hurt in his system, because it's not like he uses them in an unresponsible way or anything. They're always getting hit. Like, even if it's not necessarily
so much for that O line, doesn't he? That O line.
I think that's a hard position to draft too.
It is, but I mean, you look at guys like Belichick, who his offense and defensive lines are always money. He may not have anything else, but those lines are awesome.
Hey, Russ Grimm was with us forever, and Russ Grimm, part of that hog line, right? He was a Cardinals coach forever. He could not draft an offensive lineman to save his life.
Yeah.
How do you pick up? It's like, I mean,
Steve Keim played offensive line. He couldn't draft anybody to save his life.
It's got to be, and it's because what Shanahan does with the O line, and he moves them and the schemes and the way he does stuff. It does look a tough place and a tough position. It's almost a skilled position on the Niners, and you don't get that in college football. The big guys are always the one that are like, oh, that's a great tackle. Why? He's 380 pounds, 6'9". He's a unit, but that doesn't work for a Shanahan sort of O line. He needs guys that are strong but mobile and can sweep round and do loads of stuff. Yeah, he needs a speed in that, and that's how he schemes stuff. So it's a tough one, and that's inevitably, some of the stuff about Trey Lance and the injury he got last year was, oh, why is he running inside? 2 plays before, he just ran for 15 yards doing the same play. So it's not that he was schemed wrong. It's just a freak, one of those things. But, a missed block or whatever else just didn't go right. It happens. But, yeah, it's a tough one. But right now, the confidence coming out of Santa Clara going into the season is massively high. A tough game for us to start with, to be honest, against the Steelers. I see the Steelers being a real good test for us to see.
Hey, they finished the year, 7-2, Bo?
Yeah, they flew through the end of the season, didn't they? They were looking like, maybe their first losing season under, Mike Tomlin, and he turned it around and they managed to go, as you say, I think 7-2. Or it's like, that's going to be a real tough. I think if we come out of that with a win by 3-6, I think we'll get out of Pittsburgh and get going, because that's a tough opener. I think that is a real tough opener.
It's funny. I love the opening slate for the kickoff of the NFL, right? Like, you started off Lions KC, right?
What a statement for the Lions.
You knew it was going to be a great game. And then you have Niners Steelers. You have Bills Jets.
Bills Jets. Packers. Packers are at the Bears, right?
Bears. Like, you have a lot of these just top flight games to kick the weekend off. Like, this is probably one of the better lineups for opening weekend that I've seen in years.
Yeah, it's kind of like you can't soft shoe into this season, isn't it? A lot of these teams are going up early, as you say. Packers, Bears, us against the Steelers, Giants, Cowboys. You're not getting an easy run in. You're not kind of shaking off the rust. You've got to hit the ground. You've got to get going 110 miles an hour now, because you could already be behind the 8 ball. You're one loss down against a division rival. If things go wrong for you guys, Bo, you could be down against the Rams. You could be, that's a double whammy if you're 0-1, but that one is against the division rival as well. There's some big, really tasty games.
Yeah,
and well done the NFL.
Giants, another one for Sunday Night Football, right?
Sunday night. What an opening primetime game that is. Yeah.
I mean, the only one that I think is going to be, like, I think the Eagles Patriots. The Eagles are going to smack them around, but
you want to watch it.
You want to watch it just to see how badly they smack him around, right? Because it's Belichick getting smacked around, and it's the Eagles. You got to watch the Eagles because you want to see what they've got.
Well, and like the Vikings and Tampa Bay, right? The Vikings should easily win that game, but they probably won't, right? Because you never know what Baker's
win it by, it's the Vikings, right? They'll win it by 3. Cousins will turn up and win it by 3 in the last dying seconds or something.
Yeah, probably. Well, only because it's an early game, right? Because if it was prime time, somehow Tampa wins.
Yeah.
Can you guys identify, both of you, I'll start with Gary, can you identify the one thing you can't have that will derail your season?
Trent Williams injury.
Tackle. What can you think of something that might really derail your season?
Trent Williams going down. We lose Trent Williams, our season could implode because
that's
our O-line depth.
That's how deep you are.
Yeah, our O-line depth that we showed in the preseason is not there.
I was looking at your depth chart, and I'm like, I had not heard of any of the names after Trent Williams. I'm like, who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
No,
we're first and second years.
Not a lot of experience after Trent Williams either.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the pinch point. That's the single point of failure, if you like. Weakness is there. If big Trent Williams goes down, we are going to real struggle. I mean, not only because he's the leader of that line, but the way Shanahan can sometimes scheme him out. And I love, still my favorite play when he literally bulldozed the Packers when he went in motion. I mean, that was just unfair, but I love watching it. It was just unfair. It was just like, you can't do that to another team, but it was great to watch on repeat. But if he goes down, I'm really worried. I mean, then it's the Seahawks division to take, I think.
Sure.
Well, good thing he's made of stone. How about you, Bo?
I mean, like I said on my thing, it's the front seven. If they don't show growth, then their season is going to be exactly what it was last year, where you can potentially sneak into the playoffs, but you're not going to do anything once you get there because running games matter once you get to the playoffs. And if you can't stop the run, then that's a problem. So if they don't make a jump from 30th to middle of the pack, they make a jump from 30th to like 25th or 24th, something like that. That's just not good enough. And when we go against teams like the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Niners, they'll get smacked. Like, those are games that even if your defense is on point, you can potentially lose those games, right? Because that's just another good team. But if your team is lacking in that way, especially going against a team like the Eagles, that everybody can run the ball, right? Then all of a sudden that becomes a very, very tough thing to watch. So,
where do you see JSN fitting into that offense? I mean, he would have to be in with 13 personnel, right?
JSN's going to be perfect for that because we lost Marquise Goodwin to the Browns. And so he becomes that third option, that slot receiver. So you still have Lockett and DK on the outside. And then you have JSN, who are you going to line up against him, right? He has insane speed. So you're going to put a corner, a nickel corner on him or an outside linebacker on him. He wins those battles all day.
Yeah, he's a big body as well, though, isn't he? He's pretty big.
Yeah,
he's not just got the speed. He's a reasonable size as well. So
he's bigger than Lockett.
Yeah,
he's I'm bigger than Lockett, right?
He's kind of in between, right? Like, he's a little bigger than Lockett, but he's smaller than DK. But DK will lose some of his targets.
Definitely smaller than DK, right? Apart from an Olympic power lifter or something, and even then.
Yeah, but no. So the way I kind of look at this trio, right, is you're going to have Lockett. He's going to have 1,000-yard season because he has one every year, right? And then DK is probably going to finish around 900 yards because JSN
big games, right?
Well,
he's going to dig into that.
Exactly. JSN will take some of his targets. So then JSN as a rookie is probably going to end up with 750 yards roughly. And then everything else is going to be like tight ends and Bobo fills in randomly and, stuff like that. But yeah, I imagine Lockett has, a 5th 1,000-yard season in a row. And instead of DK having a second 1,000-yard, he's probably going to pull up just short.
Around it. So what about you, JT? What do you see as your most glaring weakness?
The team bus.
The team, yeah.
It's like, that's why I had to go most glaring. It's like,
no, you know what? Honestly, just offense and defense and special teams. That's it.
That's it.
Outside of that,
Outside of that, you guys are set, right? Yeah.
We got the water breaks down. No, I think you know what. Honestly, I think our offensive line. I really do like our offensive line. I think it's going to be a big difference. It's going to be a stretch now. Taking, well, no pun intended, taking the ball from under center. That's not something Kyler's ever done in the NFL. We haven't seen in the last 4 years. It sounds very simple to most NFL fans. We have not ran that kind of offense where the quarterback takes the ball under center and in a play action situation turns his back to the defense. So I'm excited to see that. We should, at least lead our conference in 12 personnel, one back, two tight end. And
Kyler should know how to do that. He's played Madden.
You know what? You would think Call of Duty all the time, right? He always turns his back on you.
You would think. I will say this though. Again, the reports are from the Cardinals are just amazing. There was a report the other day that Josh Dobbs showed up at the facility at 6:30 to work out the other day. It was the first one to show up. All the lights were out, but there was one light on when he got there, and it was in the weight room. Study. And it was Kyler in there working out. So I think Kyler's kind of got the message that
he's not in the study room; he's in the weights room, right?
I need to shape up or
ship out.
Yeah. So like I said, I think he has all the talent in the world. I think he's the most talented Arizona quarterback we ever have had. I just think he needs to figure it out up here, grow up.
I mean, he has to this year. He has to this year because
when is he expected back, Jay? Is it still week 4 or something, or are we? When is he expected to suit up and start?
Well, he started the year on the pop, so at least the first 4 games. When I would say probably the first 6 because then you got to get him in practice shape or game shape and.
When's the bye week? When's your bye week?
What's that?
When's the Cardinals bye week?
Oh, I have no idea. I haven't even looked at that, but I don't see unless Kyler really comes out and just shits the bed. I don't see it, nor does Cardinal fan want to see Kyler not doing good and I don't know how the dead cap money works, but it's $81 million for if we just cut him. Yeah. If we trade him, let's say we trade him to another. Let's say we trade him to the Rams. We just owe him the guaranteed money. Well, the guaranteed money left on his contract is $46 million. Bryce Young was the first overall draft pick. So let's say we draft Caleb Williams next year. Contracts go up about 3 to 4% every year. So let's say it's in the $26, $27 million range. That means we're going to have over $71 million tied up in the quarterback position if we go that route. Who's a rookie quarterback? So
that's a third of your cap space.
Door 1 has us paying $71 million in the QB position, and door 2 has us paying dead cap money of $81 million at the QB position. Either one, is a horrible idea. The highest dead cap hit for any team in the history of the NFL was Matt Ryan when he went to the Colts it was a $40 million hit to the Falcons.
I thought Wentz's was because I thought that was $44 million when Wentz just got cut.
Goff to the Lions was pretty hefty too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just looked up.
The Rams were still paying for dead cap, different. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it could be either one of those guys, but that's the range we're talking about, and now you would have to double that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
To get
that's insane, isn't it? As you said, it's a third of your draft capital for a whole year gone on 2 players.
You don't need. Shanahan will tell you this: you don't need Superman to win the Super Bowl. You need a quarterback that's good enough.
Yeah. And also you got to have a quarterback who's got it between the ears rather than just on the legs and in the arms. It's between the ears is where it works most.
That's how the Trent Dilfers of the world get a ring, right? Is you have a good defense, you got good players around you, don't turn the ball over.
That's it. So Jimmy G's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Damn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's way easier if you just ride the bench and get them.
Get a good guy in front of you,
We
right?
could win with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, see, that's what worries me. This 42 million that we've kind of found. Cousins' contract's coming up in Minnesota pretty soon, and it's always been rumored that Cousins is the archetypal Shanahan QB.
I don't think he'll do that just because of age. I don't think he wants an aging quarterback. Because let's face it, Cousins is in the back nine of his career.
Cousins. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, just a fader prime. Let's get Cousins. He's going to be the guy who takes us there, and then he just completely chokes in any primetime game that we're ever in. Anyway,
I think you guys struck golden pretty, and
yeah,
I think he's going to ride that until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, he fits the system well. You guys have a really late bye week. It's week 14.
Yeah.
Cardinals?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You could be beaten up by then. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
No,
sure.
but I love a late season bye week, right? Get some of your guys healthy. Ours is week 5.
Yeah. You come off a bye. You come off a bye week to play us, I think, don't you?
Yeah. I think you're right.
You're off a bye week when we roll in on the Thursday night or something.
Did you guys see that stat I sent you?
Was that the one? The Niners have to play
after they've
after playing us. Yeah, 0-15. Yeah, the only team that went out and won after playing us, I think, was the Chiefs or something last season, wasn't it?
That's insane.
That is an insane stat.
That's how physical the football team is.
Yeah. We might not win every game, but we beat up on the team so much that the next week they roll out going, everything still hurts from last week. It's a mad stat, right? It's a mad. But
I think one of the other so much. I envy them, but I hate them so much.
Well, I think one of the other stats I saw leading into this one is that we are the negative rest week team this year. Every other team who's coming again, we're like minus 15 weeks of rest against teams because we're playing the Bengals off of their bye week. They come to town and they had a bye week before they play us. I think, Bo, you have a bye week before you play us, and lots of teams who we're playing have a bye week leading in to playing us. So we're like, it's going to be an interesting one. How do we stay fit? Because our bye week, I think, is 7, maybe 7 or 8. So slap bang in the middle, which isn't great, but isn't too bad. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think after our bye week is an interesting run of you guys again. I think the Bucks. There's an interesting kind of Eagles sort of little run after our bye week, so that'll be where the season kind of takes shape. But boys, this has been an hour of absolute. Missed this so much, man. We've missed this. I mean, unscripted. We've managed to completely. It's just talking football properly with you guys is just amazing. I've loved it. I cannot wait to do this every Sunday of the season. It's going to be a blast. This has been Let's Talk Sport NFC West. And until next week, go watch some football.
Oh, yeah.